أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي واشدد به أزري واشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. Oh Lord, we have wronged ourselves, and if you do not forgive us, we should certainly be among the wrongdoers. Amen. وصلى اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين والحمد لله رب العالمين. آمين.
Ameen. Okay, inshallah. Thank you, Faria, for the opening prayers, inshallah. So we're going to start the race on the supreme sign. And this is the 7th ray. And this is the journey, human journey that we are looking at, inshallah. So we kind of discussed, if you remember, the discussion on the revelation and inspiration, and how we saw that everything kind of is taught. There's a speech of God that is continuously happening. And we, on the one hand, we have the true unveiled, which is called the revelation, and then once there's some other thoughts and ideas that comes to us, and they are all veiled, which we need to uncover, and that is called the inspiration. So that was the highlight of the summary so far, inshallah. So we can continue on this human journey together. And we're going to start with the new section, inshallah. So, Bismillah. So, Faria, you want to read?
Inshallah. So the rays, the supreme sign, page 150. Again, the rays, the supreme sign, page 150. Then that traveler through the world addressed his own intellect, saying, "Since I am seeking my master and creator by means of the creatures of the cosmos, I ought before all else to visit the most celebrated of all these creatures. Since I am seeking my master and creator by means of the creatures of the cosmos, I ought before all else to visit the most celebrated of all these creatures, the greatest and most accomplished commander among them. I ought before all else to visit the most celebrated of all these creatures, the greatest and most accomplished commander among them, according to the testimony even of his enemies, the most renowned ruler, the most renowned ruler, the most exalted in speech, and the most brilliant in intellect, who has illuminated 14 centuries with his excellence, and who has illuminated 14 centuries with his excellence and with his Qur'an. Muhammad, the Arabian Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him. In order thus to visit him and seek from him the answer to his quest. In order thus to visit him and seek from him the answer to his quest, He entered the blessed age of the Prophet in his mind and saw that age to be one of true felicity, thanks to that being. Since I'm seeking my master and creator by means of the creatures of the cosmos, I ought before all else to visit the most celebrated of all these creatures, the greatest and most accomplished commander among them, the greatest and most accomplished commander among them, according to the testimony even of his enemies, according to the testimony even of his enemies, the most renowned ruler, the most exalted in speech, and the most brilliant in intellect, who has illuminated 14 centuries with his excellence, who has illuminated 14 centuries with his excellence and with his Qur'an. Muhammad, the Arabian Prophet, may God's peace and blessings be upon him, in order thus to visit him and seek from him the answer to his quest, in order thus to visit him and seek from him the answer to his quest, he entered the blessed age of the Prophet in his mind and saw that age to be one of true felicity. He entered the blessed age of the Prophet in his mind and saw that age to be one of true felicity. And saw that age to be one of true felicity, thanks to that being. For through the light he had brought, he had turned the most primitive and illiterate of peoples into the masters and teachers of the world. He had turned the most primitive and illiterate of peoples into the masters and teachers of the world. He said to his own intellect, before asking him concerning our Creator, he said to his own intellect, before asking him concerning our Creator, we should first learn that value of this extraordinary being, the veracity of his words, and the truthfulness of his warnings. The veracity of his words and the truthfulness of his warnings. Thus he began investigating, and of the numerous conclusive proofs that he found, we will briefly indicate here only 9 of the most general ones. So those of you who joined us we are now on page 151 of the race. I'm just wondering if it's a good place to pause, or should we go at least with the first and then we can pause?
Up to you, Faria.
Okay. So
maybe we can
a little bit
summarize a little bit, right?
So it's interesting now that the traveler, after journeying around in the universe through different stages, we can say, of our existence, when the human being reach at a certain level in their understanding of what this existence can point to, then there's this inner dialogue that goes on, or usually we say in psychology, introspective analysis of the self. But pretty much now you're really coming to yourself. And so he's addressing his own intellect, saying, like, we know that this universe is created. So whatever is created must have a creator. So you observe anything, a fruit, it's made, then it must have a maker. So now it's seeking the creator by means of creatures of the cosmos. So he's thinking, how am I going to find the source of my existence through the creatures of the cosmos? And so for that, I ought to, before else, to visit the most celebrated of these creatures, the greatest and most accomplished commander among them. So I think we spoke about revelation last time and inspiration. So now one's human side recognized that there must be some sort of speech available in verbal form, like a speech that should be communicated to me through an employee of the creator of the universe, because I'm a human being. So I communicate with people. That's how I can make sense of my existence a little better. So definitely there must be an envoy who'll speak to me on behalf of my creator. And so I think now the qualities of this employee is sort of mentioned. And the most renowned ruler, the most exalted in speech, I think this is usually how we are presented with as far as an employee of the speech of the creator is concerned. But what was striking to me was that it has to be one of, and saw that age to be one of true felicity. So it has to be that age to be one of true felicity. So in terms of, so feeling like contentment or satisfaction within the self, or usually the speech of the creator of the universe sort of bring like a good news about what the reality of this universe is. And so with that comes a little felicity where you're like, I'm not left here just like a haphazard random happening.
So here's one thing, right? So I'm a traveler in this world, right? So I'm trying to connect with I saw the universe. I'm trying to understand from the universe what this all means. And now the journey, as I understood it, I looked at the consciousness that I'm given and the things that are meaningful in whatever I observe. And then I visited some of the works of the prophets and whoever is telling me about what the meaning of this universe is. And there was also the part of revelation and inspiration that whoever has made this world, I know that there is someone who has made this world, who is giving existence continuously. He must speak also. So we discussed the revelation and inspiration. And now it seems that the intellect or the traveler is thinking, hey, okay, I'm trying to, what am I seeking? Who am I seeking? So I'm seeking the master and creator by means. So using the universe, using my daily living, everyday life, my goal is to actually seek my master and creator. And now I need how do I go and reach that master and creator? So his idea, something that comes to him is that he needs to first see who is the most celebrated person, who is the one who can get him closer to his master and creator, who can get him to that whatever he's seeking. So there's the seek that is coming to of the master and creator. And now the prophet, peace and blessing be upon him, is introduced as the one who will bring him to his search for his master and creator. So far, this is what I got in this first paragraph. And now he's asking, okay, he defines what this person who is the one who is very celebrated, and even his enemies tell him that he is, one of the most truthful persons, and there's no denying he doesn't lie. He's a good man in general. Even his enemies don't deny that. An accomplished commander, so the most renowned ruler, the most exalted in speech, and the most brilliant in intellect. So these are personal qualities, I would say, of an individual. I mean, of course, you guys can correct me, everyone. And who has illumined 14 centuries with his excellence and with his Qur'an. So this individual is bringing a message, and which is what the message of the Qur'an. And he says, Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, in order thus to visit him. So in order to learn from him, I have to go and seek to his time period in his era, which is what you said of the era of felicity.
Right, and I was wondering about that needs to be studied as well, like the historical context, because otherwise if I don't study the historical context, then I wouldn't be able to extract that, that age, the way, the truth was presented to people, that age became one of true felicity. And because human beings, we seek felicity, we seek eternal happiness, something that satisfies our existence here. So yeah, that's why I was wondering about that. So the historical context, knowing a little bit about that is also good to know, a little background. Then I can now investigate the being as well, like you were saying, Asim, about the qualities of this being in terms of his being truthful or the veracity of his words. So that's why it says, thus he began investigating, and of the numerous conclusive proofs that he found, we will briefly indicate here only 9 of the most general ones. So as far as I'm concerned as well, I go on in the same path of this traveler in terms of investigating also the veracity of his words, and with that, whatever he's presenting, bring also felicity to my life conditions or my state and era.
Can I make a comment?
Of course,
as
please.
far as what it attracted my attention in the text. Mm-hmm. It is interesting that although the traveler, it means me and you and me, traveling in this world and inquiring what my position in creation in this world is, what is the source of my being here, and the meaning, the purpose of my being. And still, although he went through many stages, still the method the author is following is still there and reminding us which method we are still continuing to use, to employ for our search. So since I am seeking my master and creator, who is my owner, who is my Lord, or who sustains my being here, and who has created me here, who put me here on earth. He has been going through many stages, but still the method is kept, following through my real life experiences. Mm-hmm. So the text says, I'm seeking my master and creator by means of the creatures of the cosmos.
Mm-hmm. That's the method.
Yeah. By means of the creatures of the cosmos. So as if he is now going to leave this method and say that let me go to the contents of the Qur'an or divine revelation. He doesn't jump into this stage suddenly. But it is so interesting that the author employs here as his method first I have to go and investigate, even not really physically, but at least, what did he say?
Intellect.
Through what? Thinking, or in his mind. Yeah, he
Yeah.
entered the blessed age of the prophet in his mind. As far as now, physically again, as a historical event now, but still physically entering his blessed. And see what happened there. First, we realize that we must not be ashamed of declaring this openly. The prophet was an illiterate man, as the Qur'an also, his message also confirms that you are illiterate. And the prophet himself says, I am illiterate, and my people also are illiterate. Yeah. That's why here, it's a very clear statement. I remember reading this statement in Bukhari or Muslim, but most probably in both. That's why it's stuck in my mind. So we are illiterate people, he says. What does it mean? We haven't gone through a certain civilization, certain way of understanding, interpretation of existence, anything. That's, we are, as we are born in the world, in this world, and we haven't got any influence from it anywhere, so we protect our, if you like, original natural state in this world. So we have to think now from scratch freely. Now, although I am illiterate, it doesn't mean that I have to know what other people said, etc., but investigate my existence and the existence of the things around me. Also, traveler, this imaginary man, it is representing you and me. Also, we have to say, look, I heard this and this, and then leave all of them. Look at myself, look at my around. Now, because of the stages now, this is the, what is the 15th stage. I mean, 50 different degrees of investigation this traveler is going through. This is the 15th stage. Let me go with this famous man who's well known. He is known as a person who made a great change, revolution in people's life, whether personal or social life, political life, economical life. He made a great revolution, completely changed. And everybody says the illiterate Bedouin, desert dwellers, Bedouins, that no settled civilization, became the master of the world of that time, and ideologically as well as physically. They challenged with their power the most powerful and historical states or establishments of the administrations. It means kingdoms, empires. They challenged them with what? That was the great revolution. They went through, they became, it is very interesting again, he turned the most primitive and illiterate of peoples into the masters and teachers of the world that time.
That's a big revolution.
No one, no philosopher, no civilization changed the life of a people from this almost zero level to the highest level of their age in just 23 years. Impossible. Come on, what are you talking about? With civilization, even all the technological gadgets and social media is worldwide used nowadays. They cannot change the life of people from the very bottom of the lifestyle to the highest of the lifestyle in 23 years. What is this magical thing happening there? Of course, it is absolutely striking for any people, but unfortunately for those people who have certain ideology, who have certain bias, understanding and stand against the teachings of this person, whoever he is, they don't want to investigate the force, the if you like, the motive behind this radical change, plus from 0 to 100 degree change, and plus not only in their ideologies, no, in their personalities, in their capacities, in their economical lifestyle, in their political lifestyle, ideological lifestyle, and establish a completely new civilization. Of course, I'm surprised that not serious studies have been undertaken about this motive. What happened then these people changed? For example, there was a police system. It means small town turned into small states during Greek period. Maybe, definitely more than 1,000 PhD theses have been conducted about it. Which kind of change they did? Nothing. Only a couple of elite and thinking people just came up with an interesting idea, of course, according to their stage of their civilization and understanding, accumulation of knowledge, not from 0 to the top, but developing in the course of time, centuries. And still, in that society, women were treated like animal. Slaves were treated as if they are not really human beings. They belong to the land with the feudal system, and they didn't have any power, any position to say anything as far as the social life is concerned. They didn't have any right to speak out. Whereas in the life of the Prophet, these Bedouins turned it into a full-fledged personality, and even asked the women asked in the masjid, in his gatherings, this gathering, not necessarily that we understand gatherings where people go to the mosques and just pray and leave. No, administrative center, but at the same time, practice of their ideology, their understanding of life. There stood up and spoke out. How dare you do? Yeah, that is the revolution took place in that time, and they were treated equally, but in a just way, of course, appropriate there every people's position, and theoretically, definitely, slavery is eradicated. Practically, it was left to the gradual process of the economical, political, and social conditions of life to settle down in the society, in that establishment, because it was the hardcore of the economical and political system of the society. It wasn't really possible to eradicate them completely, for example, completely dissolve it. For example, how many years it took in the United States
To abolish slavery.
to abolish slavery system, and as a result of what? revolt, as a result of fight, as a result of war. At the end, by force, the slaves gained their liberty, their freedom. How many years after the establishment of the American state here? It took 300 years. And they claim to be the richest country because the huge wealth by killing the natives, they invaded the land by using weaponry, power, army power, not convincing them, not really giving them any right, by killing them. Almost genocide took place that time. 300 years later, with great struggles and fight and war caused in the society, and then only legal side of the practice acknowledged the freedom of the slaves. Practice still, capitalist system is based on slavery, really, but this time they are not slaves belonging to the land, but they are slaves within the high-rise business offices. 8 to in the morning, 8 until 5 or 6 o'clock, they have to obey the boss. But the name changed, rather than the Lord or Senior or whatever they call it, Sir. Now it became General Director, Executive Director of a company. The same thing, they cannot go, they cannot leave, they are bound to, and also economically, they are really, if you like, put in chain. For example, can a person really live without being subject to this kind of slavery system of this century? Can you, for example, both of you here? Yeah, can I? I'm still working. I'm still over 70 years old, still working. Why? Oh, I have to take care of the requirements of this false, artificial civilization. I'm in prison. I cannot get out of this and declare my freedom. No, but in that society, in 23 years' time, everybody became equal. Wow. Now, if you are not going to investigate the motives behind this revelation, what are you going to study as far as the political science is concerned, sociological studies are concerned? What are you going to study? Philosophical studies are concerned. What are you going to study? If you are not going to pay attention to this revelation and study the philosophical side of it, sociological side of it, psychological side of it, economical side of it, and also state administration side of it. And this took place under the leadership of a shepherd. Man. And surprising, no serious study. Why this revolution? How this revolution became real, practiced, historically evidenced, and still continuing its effect until after 1450 years later, influencing many people, a fifth of the whole world generation, they say now. I don't know what is the population. Maybe again, 5% of the population. Yeah, every one person out of 5 is still carrying on the heritage of this revelation. To a certain extent, everybody according to their capacity. this is the most important event in the world. And now it is the time for the traveler. Let me go and investigate the source of this event. What happened there? And such a revolution took place and realized. It is, I mean, if this traveler didn't go and investigate it, even in his mind, it would be not fair at all. Although I see that how many pages are spent or spared for this investigation. Okay. Now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 5.5 pages or 6 pages. Not enough. We have to make a great, deep investigation and try to access or study the case from many different perspectives. As a historical perspective, economical perspective, geographical perspective, because they were Bedouins. They were living in tents. They didn't have settled civilization. How they became emperors? It is impossible, man. No. It is beyond imagination.
Yeah, that's a good.
No, that is why it is psychological perspective, sociological perspective. Yeah, of course, anthropological perspective, philosophical perspective, religious perspective. Many of them, I mean, you know better than I do, all these disciplines must go and study. But unfortunately, because of the political bias of those people who are called as if they are scientists and liberal thinking, free thinking scientists and sociologists, politicians, philosophers. No, they are all biased. Unfortunately, those people who were aware of this fact also, you are not really paying necessary attention to it. We are not appreciating how this heritage really emerged suddenly in the worst society and came to the highest, most civilized, and the leader of the world of that time. How did it happen? Oh, it is amazing. It is amazing.
How can you not study that?
Yeah. Maybe thousands of different PhD studies should have done. So there is somebody among us, how many PhD theses conducted on this subject? My dear friend, unfortunately, that is what it is, actually. Yeah, we have to be careful. Thank you. Thank you. So I spoke a lot. As I get excited, no one can stop me.
Alhamdulillah for your excitement. Thank you. So there's a comment from our friend Colin. Colin, would you like to read your comment and maybe elaborate on it? If not, we can read it for you. So Colin says, sociologists, anthropologists, and psychiatrists couldn't bring about a change in the Arabian Peninsula today, even if they spent 200 years on them, let alone 23.
It echoes well.
No, they can't. 200 years, if they could do it, you know, we have to understand the wealth. America, the people here in America, especially Canada and America, still, Canada is a huge country. Everywhere is forest, free land, etc. What is the population of Canada? It is as large as China even. China, 1.2 billion.
Right.
Canada, how many?
Not the, yeah.
No.
Fraction.
It's something like, well, I don't know, but the old thing, that's something there.
40 to 50 million.
Yeah, 40 million.
Wow.
Yeah, but when I was studying at lycée level, it was 30 million. 30 million. Come on, even the Karachi is 40 million, man. Karachi is only a town. Come on, a city, 40 million. Huge, which means they call it natural resources.
Mm-hmm.
It means the availability, economical facilities. And also America is the same. Killing the natives and getting the all the land free, and the most of the land is green, fertile, everything. They couldn't, impossible with this wealth. How about the Bedouins? Which kind of wealth and which kind of material means they had? Huh? Sand of the desert.
Stars.
Nothing.
Land of opportunity.
And a few camels and goats. Yeah. That's it. No material means. What happened in that area?
No resources. Yeah.
Oh, man. No, we are really very ungrateful to the grace of Allah that He presented to us this opportunity to attract our attention to wake up. You can realize this revolution by finding out the spirit behind this revolution. So you can do it in your life as well, even your personal life, even your family life, social life, you can do it. But well, of course, I mean, laziness is in our blood. And taking for granted religiosity. Alhamdulillah, I am a Muslim. I never miss my prayer. At the most, if you could. If we are doing it really. It's also a serious question. Okay, thank you very much.
Alhamdulillah. Anybody would like to comment anything, say anything? All right, so do we continue for you?
Inshallah. So, right.
So let's investigate this era, this time period. So he said 2 to his own intellect. Before asking him concerning our Creator, we should first learn that value of this extraordinary being, the veracity of his words, and the truthfulness of his warnings. Veracity of his words and the truthfulness of his warnings. Thus he began investigating, and of the numerous conclusive proofs that he found, we will briefly indicate here only 9 of the most general ones. Okay.
Okay, Bismillah. So the supreme sign, the rays, page 151. The first, all excellent qualities and characteristics were to be found in that extraordinary being, according to the testimony even of his enemies. This is a very interesting part of, wow. Yeah, I don't know, it just made me realize sometimes when we are having exchange of ideas with people, we get very personal about things, but I think if everybody's listening in or sharing ideas with an open mind, then there's something, a little grain of truth maybe that you are accepting to be even saying this, right? So even though you're like, oh, I'm not accepting this, but what you say makes sense a little bit. So yeah, I think it's interesting how even this piece, even somebody is not in agreement with your idea or something, but still they agree with your qualities. I think that's it's a challenge to apply in our daily lives. nowadays. And I think when we did the sincerity piece with this author's writing, we sort of expounded further on that. So all excellent qualities and characteristics were to be found in that extraordinary being, according to the testimony even of his enemies. So I assume that these are like personal characteristics, like, medium speech. I guess etiquettes of sharing ideas, perhaps. 100 of miracles were made manifest at his hands. Hundreds of miracles were made manifest at his hands according to explicit Quranic verses or traditions enjoying the status of tawatur. So hundreds of miracles were made manifest at his hands according to explicit Quranic verses or traditions enjoying the status of tawatur. So there's a footnote. Tawatur is the kind of report transmitted by numerous authorities about which there is no room for doubt. Or like it's direct coming, like there's no intermediary in the transmission of.
So if many people say something that I saw that, it becomes like something that is acceptable for some of the events.
Okay. So so it's giving some examples. So let's look into it. Examples of these miracles are his splitting of the moon and the moon split, which is from Quran chapter 54, verse 1. And the moon split with a single indication of his finger. His casting of a handful of dust into the eyes of his enemies, causing them to flee. It was not your act when you threw, but God's. It was not your act when you threw, but God's. Quran chapter 8, verse 17. And his giving his thirsting army to drink from the water that flowed forth from his 5 fingers like the spring of Kausar. Since some of those miracles, numbering more than 300, have been set forth with decisive proofs in the remarkable and wondrous work known as the Miracles of Muhammad, the 19th letter, we leave discussion of the miracles to that work and permit the traveler to continue speaking. A being who, in addition to noble characteristics and perfections, has all these luminous miracles to demonstrate. A being who, in addition to noble characteristics and perfections, has all these luminous miracles to demonstrate, must certainly be the most truthful in speech of all men. It's interesting. It is inconceivable that he would stoop to trickery, lies, and error, the deeds of the vile. It is inconceivable that he would stoop to trickery, lies, and error, the deeds of the vile. So, should we pause here?
So this is the first of the investigation.
Did it attract your attention as well? As we were, I was making a long comment on the introduction of this specific section. We never mentioned what the author mentioned here.
Yeah, right.
Did it attract your attention?
Yeah.
Why? Because I understood after reading it, we missed a big important point here. Because what he says, first, he performed miracles and the people experienced it in a group, hundreds of people, maybe thousands as well, and narrated by these people. And it is impossible to declare that they were fabricated. And Why? This kind of things happened. Now, why author gave the priority to miracles? Did you really think?
In that era, maybe it makes sense in the first primary.
My understanding that as soon as I read this, I realized that, of course, I personally missed a very important aspect of this revolution. I kept saying that this revolution took place, it was so radical, so beyond human capacity, because miracles are the signs that this man is not acting with his own power.
Mm-hmm.
It is supported. He is supported or employed by the one who can create miracles, not to demonstrate, but can create miracles. Because human beings cannot create miracles. It means extraordinary, which means against the established order of the universe, do something against the established order of the universe. As a human being, impossible. I cannot change anything. Even the most sophisticated, I don't know, philosopher or anybody else, a more talented person, cannot change the order. They may play something tricky, but not change the order of the universe. Who can change the order of the universe? Only the one who holds of the order, who is the source of existence, controller, sustainer, administrator of the order, can change it. So it is so obvious that the author did, I think, very consciously tries to attract our attention. Look, first of all, you have to pay attention that this wasn't the power of that individual peasant, not a peasant, sorry, shepherd. It is beyond imagination. That's why, in another word, such a revolution could never happened and could have never happened either. Never happened. Could have never happened. Why? Because if you are going to do a revolution, let me tell you, there are two gentlemen here, family, old family. How old are you? How old are you? Sorry? Really? Okay, he's younger than me. Do you think you can change your wife? Do you think, example, and I asked the wife here, okay, can you change your husband? Can you? Look at it. She says, no.
Impossible.
No, even with your force, with your power, let alone gradually, you cannot change anybody's character or understanding level. You can't. Even the closest person next to you, your wife, your husband, no. It is so much real. If someone changes thousands of people's life, coming from very different, way of life, different status, different quality, and changing them from zero to the top. But it cannot be the product of a person within his own power. Impossible. That is what we have to pay attention, that while we are studying the life of the Prophet, we have to bear in mind that we are not studying the capacity of a person. So I say the historical study of the life of the Prophet, Sirah books, don't pay attention to this reality. They say he was a very kind man. He never lied. Yeah, he was very respectful to his wives, and he was very respectful to the people around him. That is his character. These are all good characters. Everybody should assume these characters. You and I learn it, but his success cannot be originated from his character. Because you are kind, I would say, for example, Gandhi was a very peaceful, revolutionary man. Yeah? He just made one change. I mean, get rid of this, colonizers, and successfully arranged. Yeah. And what happened? Did he change every aspect of the people for almost forever? No. The colonizers had to leave the country, and then the civilization invaded their land again. I mean, not physical colonization took place, by ideological, literature, education-wise, everything is still done through the colonizers' understanding of the world. And the people are really the same as they were, but they took the administration. It's a success as a human being. It is a success. They took the administration from the colonizers and practiced it by themselves. It's okay. It is a success as a human being. It's a great success, and a peaceful success. Yes, it is a success. But what happened during this area cannot be compared at all with the success of Gandhi. It means it is beyond human capacity to imagine that what the success was realized that time is something divinely originated and directed, supported, and given the success by the creator of the order of the universe. That's why I understood that miracles means not because he was a really successful miracle maker, because miracles cannot be performed by human beings. Therefore, the miracles are the signs that this man is supported by the owner of the universe. So pay attention to this.
Even personal character was given also by Almighty Allah, personal character.
Personal character is also given to an individual.
Yeah, but it is not the source of success.
Yeah.
No, it's a good character that we have to assume.
Yeah.
We have to learn something, but we cannot attribute the success he realized, or during that time was realized, was out of his character only. No, his character was fitting as a human being, created human being. But the source of success is the owner of the universe, creator of the universe. That is the sign for miracles. Now, there are many good people to their wives, including your parents, and there are many people who are very kind and respectful to their children, including your parents. They are here. So, but it doesn't mean that you can realize what he did. It is impossible. We cannot attribute to success to these qualities. That's why these qualities are not really essential points. But the Sirah books mostly miss this point. They attribute the good qualities to the man, to the person, and appreciate him, forget about the effect of the creator of the universe behind this revolution.
It's a big thing. It's a big thing, actually.
Oh, that's a big missing point.
Maybe some, but mostly they say they are given by the Almighty Allah to these things.
Yeah, the whole studies are not based on it. So what they say.
So it's interesting, like while you were sharing your reflections, that was striking to me as well, that the success cannot be originated from a person's character. Like, oh yeah,
No, the
because
success cannot be.
Yeah.
Although characters were excellent,
right,
but we cannot say that
Mm,
his success is the result of his character.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, impossible.
Yes, sir.
We have to make the
Mm.
distinction.
This is a good, very, I think, crucial point here,
Yeah,
because that was
crucial point.
really striking for me. Thank you.
Yes, right.
So Suhail says tawatur is mass transmission.
Sorry?
Mass transmission. Tawatur.
I say master.
The
Yeah,
where
okay.
tawast.
Okay, thank you. He explains what tawatur said. For example, I haven't been to Japan. I haven't experienced it. But do you have any suspicion that Japan exists?
No.
No, that's something.
Yeah.
Those people who cannot really unite in the same line,
Right.
same lie,
Mm.
are making the same narration. Okay.
Mhm.
Mm. Good point. Does anyone have any comments from the participants? Okay. If at any point, feel free to raise your hand or put it on the chat. Then let's see if, yeah, I think maybe we should move on to the second. The second, he holds in his hand a decree from the Lord of the universe. Ah, there goes the point. He holds in his hand a decree from the Lord of the universe, a decree accepted and affirmed in each century by more than 300 million people. This decree, the Quran of mighty stature, is wondrous in 7 different ways. The fact that the Quran has 40 different aspects of miraculousness and that it is the word of the creator of all beings, and that it is the word of the creator of all beings, has been set forth in detail with strong proofs in the 25th word. Has been set forth in detail with strong proofs. In the 25th word, the miraculousness of the Qur'an is celebrated treatise that is like the sun of the Risale-e-Nur. Right. We therefore leave such matters to that work and listen to the traveler as he says, there can never be any possibility of lying on the part of the being who is the conveyor and proclaimer of this decree. There can never be any possibility of lying on the part of the being who is the conveyor and proclaimer of this decree. For that would be a violation of the decree. It can be now flying on the, okay, so for that would be a violation of the decree. Ooh. And treachery toward the one who issued it. So the duty of a messenger or somebody who's delivering something is just to convey without making any amendment to it. Otherwise, that's messing up with the speech of the creator of the universe.
So he's not saying it's his word or his man's word, but it's the one who made the whole universe, the Lord of the universe, who is speaking based on what the decree is. It's not, by definition, the decree is owned by the one who is the Lord of the universe. Right? He holds in his hand a decree from the Lord of the universe, a decree accepted and affirmed by many throughout the century. It's a continuous thing.
Do you see the same line of thinking with the first? The first demonstrated that this man was supported by the creator of the universe. The second is stating that his message also originated and supported by the creator of the universe. It means his personality, of course, he demonstrated, obeyed, followed, and put it into practice in his personal life, and present it to the rest of the world as his personal life, as the exemplary personal life, as an obedience of the source of the miracles that he received. It means the Qur'an, and it means the success. So the Qur'an means his message. So someone may say that, you know, the message he found out, made up, or really philosophized, thought of it, was very powerful. That's why he was successful. No, his message was also originated by the creator of the universe. Right. Still, from all perspectives, so far we studied first and second perspective, demonstrates that, look, we are going to look at this age and how it is going, how it realized this great, virtually impossible revolution to take place by through the hands of people. Took place that time, this revolution, and worldwide was successful. Don't forget that not only the character of the person, power of the person is impossible, his message also cannot be humanly originated.
Yeah.
That is why miraculous side of his success, miraculous side of his message is extremely important. Let's see, I'm wondering what the third is. Because I really admire the way the author is consciously handling the subject here, dealing the subject, treating the subject here. It is very conscious, man. It is very conscious. This man knows what he's doing. I would, for example, if I was going to present the success of the Prophet and what happened during this age, his age, and how it flourished and spread around, it never ever would occur me that I should start from miraculous side of it. Never. It never occurred.
So he conquered the minds and hearts of people.
Oh, mashallah. I would say alhamdulillah. Mashallah. Rahimahullah. It's a great approach. Mashallah.
I'm thinking about it. Why is it starting from miracles? Because also in this day and age, you know how they say people's attention span has decreased to like 3 minutes. So even like as a speaker, first 3 minutes, you gotta do a stunt or something. Like they're like, oh wow,
present something.
Exactly, right. Take off your hat and then like bird coming out.
3 minutes?
It's less. Maybe 2 seconds.
I experienced it. 3 minutes is too much. I say just maybe temporarily a few seconds.
Yeah,
and then
I agree.
My attention digrades immediately. I try to concentrate, but my mind goes somewhere else. So not completely, but not really concentrating on the main point is heavy. No, it is.
I think at that time people were demanding some miracle from him.
That is the reason. But that is the reason. But the miracles, not because people demanded it, because of the, how do you say, big plan of the creator. Some people demanded it, but the creator demonstrated the miracle in order to show that not this man you are obeying me. I am behind him.
Yeah, very good.
Who is supporting him? Be careful. That the setting is very important. Setting. Yeah.
Actually, these are very important points. I'm glad everybody's chipping in because we slip as human beings, being neglectful and then suddenly forget about the actual source of existence of something. So even
success,
even like a teacher is teaching me something, get excited. I'm like, oh, I love this teacher, right? My math teacher is awesome. But no, it's just the content. Who does the content belong to, right? So maybe that's an interesting point. Good. Any other comments from anybody? Marcella, thank you for chiming in.
Thank you. Should we go to the third?
Yeah, we could go to the third. The third, such a sacred law in Islam, a code of worship. A code of worship, huh? Never heard of that ever in my life. A code of worship, a cause, a summons, and a fate. Did that being bring forth that the like of them does not exist, nor could it exist. Such a sacred law in Islam, a code of worship, a cause, a summons, and a fate, did that being bring forth that the like of them does not exist, nor could it exist. I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of different disciplines trying to solve any kind of issues on their end based on the subject matter. It doesn't take like 23 years. It takes more than that. So yeah, definitely psychologists and you know, there's so many issues that they are still grappling with how to address this, because the era is also changing. So for example, 20 years ago, people were not hooked on to technology, right? So it was easier to be disciplined, as opposed to now, every 2 seconds, I'm bombarded with, oh, let me check my, you know, who's saying something, who's, you know, let me check this, let me reply back. So I feel that, I mean, we have to definitely, inshallah, investigate the veracity of this message. So that was interesting.
So what this message is, the content of the message.
Yeah.
Such a
Otherwise,
sacred law in Islam.
otherwise I could say, hey, like, it doesn't speak to me right now. Like I'm like on the go.
A summons.
My lifestyle is such that I'm always on the go. Like going back to Brother Ali's point earlier, like, you know, we're slave of this civilization, whatever we're doing. And so how would this message apply to me? How can I make use of it? How can I attain felicity? And yeah, so I think, so again, what the author is presenting here, that the like of them does not exist. So I can pick up any motivational book or psychology book or anything, even, you know, I would stick with motivational book, but that just does not really help me solve my deep human existential questions. All right, so let's move on. Nor does a more perfect form of them exist, nor could it exist. So this is also interesting. So I think if by definition something is the speech of the creator of the universe, then it's absolute in its nature, as opposed to any resources or text from a created being in the universe. For the law appearing with that unlettered being has no rival in its administration. For the law appearing with that unlettered being has no rival in its administration of 1/5 of humanity for 14 centuries. Of 1/5 of humanity for 14th century. Okay. In a just and precise manner through its numerous injunctions. Not clear here. We can perhaps go over it. Let me see what's next. Moreover, the Islam that emerged from the deeds, sayings, and inward states of that unlettered being has no peer, nor can it have, for in each century it has been for 300 million men. Oh, that's a guide and a refuge, the teacher and educator of their intellects, and the illuminator and purifier of their hearts, the cause for the refinement and training of their souls, and the source of progress and advancement of their spirits. For the law appearing with that unlettered being has no rival in its administration. Oh, I see. So there's no, okay. So the law that's derived from the teachings of the
So
Quran.
it's defining what
Mm.
the decree that the Prophet, peace and blessings be on him, brings.
Mm-hmm.
The teachings that the administration, like you said about there's no such work, there's nothing like that, nothing. The way it guides people, the way the definitions that are stated,
Mm.
like a refuge, a teacher, educator of their intellects. Is there anything that you can say, I can seek refuge? Any book that tells you in the way that, hey, seek refuge in this particular, or the teacher that can tell you what your purpose in life is, your existence, educator of their intellects, an illuminator and purifier of their hearts that even satisfies your content in your being.
Its numerous injunctions. Through its numerous injunctions means like what? Through its whatever we can extract from it. And maybe it's a law word, injunctions. Not sure.
What's known now, I think this law and the sacred law, code of worship, or this kind of words are just used for Sharia
Oh, okay.
nowadays, Sharia.
Yeah.
But again here, contrasted with how successful the Sharia, the law of conduct, or law of administration, and educating people intellectually, and purifying their heart, all this code of teaching and practicing, as it is contrasted with why? For the law, the first line on the page, for the law appearing with that unlettered being has no rival in his administration of many people. Now, it doesn't mean, look at this, how successful the law is, code of law is, how illiterate the apparent source of the law. It's impossible. You can attribute it to
without any logic.
You can really attribute this successful code of law to an unlettered person.
God, this is hilarious.
Again, the miraculous side of Sharia.
This is interesting, even to like accept that, how people say, show me your credentials. They say, oh, I recommend you this. So show me your degree, show me your card or whatever. Like, what's
degrees, your certificates, experiences, your appreciation letters from your boss.
Show me your resume.
So they wouldn't take you into consideration if you didn't have the credentials, as you said. But illiterate man introducing a system of thinking, purifying one's it means psychological administration and also practical social life. Administration of a huge, for example, the state administration, war administration. Everything is in this detail. In this case, some things are so detailed, in a detailed way explained, so you can practice it. You can continue anyway in utilizing them. And the source is an unlettered person.
This is interesting.
Oh. How can you explain it? No education system. That attracts me most. Where he was sent, though there was no settled life really, there was no settled administration, just a pagan people administered in a tribal life conditions. And tribe, everything was tribal affiliations. And from there, an unlettered person comes and introduces a system of life at the level of personal or social, and including economical and everything, international relationship, all of them. Unlettered man, it means it is impossible that this person has produced it.
That's true.
It is again, it is a miracle. It means it is produced by the one who knows everything, God.
I think it's very even comforting to know also that he's not the one producing it, because we can avoid a lot of conflicts as well, knowing that it's coming from an absolute source, like anything that's presented to us. Otherwise, people can claim like, oh, this is my saying. I think the best we can do is come up with an interpretation. Okay, inshallah. So if people don't have any further comments, then we can move on, inshallah, with the next paragraph. The Prophet is similarly unparalleled in the way in which he was the foremost in practicing all the forms of worship. Is similarly unparalleled in the way in which he was the foremost in practicing all the forms of worship. Found in his religion, and the first in piety and the fear of God. And the first in piety. Now, this is interesting. Be interested to know, what does that encompass? And the fear of God. So the Prophet is similarly unparalleled in the way in which he was the foremost in practicing all the forms of worship found in his religion, and the first in piety and the fear of God. In his observing the duties of worship fully and with attention to their profoundest dimensions, even while engaged in constant struggle and activity. In his practice of worship, combining in perfect fashion the beginning and end of worship and servitude to God without imitation of anyone. Interesting points here.
Practice what you preach.
Yeah.
No, it means he is not the source of this message, this code of conduct and code of law, but he is the obedient of it.
Obedient.
He was obeying it, practicing it. And some words are very interesting. It says, for example, the fear of God. When he received the message, he declared it, and if someone suggested anything else otherwise, it means something contradicting to it, at any cost, he was saying, I am impossible. It is impossible for me to do that because I feel God. It means, how can I really disobey the source of this code? He is the order of the universe. He is my master. How can I disobey? What are you suggesting me? It is impossible. So he was so loyal to the message because he was the obedient of the message. And he asked the people to be respectful and to practice not what he did, what the message tells them. It means obey God.
I see.
Yeah. Follow me, it means practically how I am obeying the message of the Creator. You are expected to obey the message of the Creator by looking at my obedience. Yeah, my obedience is the peak, is the pinnacle of the obedience, because I am really crazy about not going against it. So you can see my practice in order to obey the Creator of the universe. That's why when the Qur'an emphasizes on it, says, if you want to follow me, follow the messenger. As if messenger is the object. No. A messenger is the best example, is a vehicle to worship God, to love God. If you want to love God, then follow the messenger. That's the message he brings. And when he says, I do it because my God ordered me to do that, I cannot disobey it. I cannot change it. I have no power to really manipulate it. but impossible for me. So take me as an example. My obedience is it means, it doesn't mean that I, as a king, for example, what a king does, king says, this is my order, obey, and obey my order. But this person says, obey the order of my boss, as I am obeying it. That is the difference between a prophet and a king.
That's good point.
So it is surprising for the people that Quran emphasizes, you know, how many times, you cannot imagine how many times obey the prophet, directly or indirectly. I would say at least 50 times. No, maybe more.
Yeah, I think so.
They don't listen to you. They just try to make up the stories to deceive you, etc. For the hypocrites. It means the Quran is always drawing the attentions of its reader to follow the prophetic example. That's what with the language of the Quran is uswatul hasana, the best character, best example, you can say it simply. Best example is this person. That's why I have chosen it. So follow his exemplary life. And then you will be obeying me. He is the best obedient, obeying person. So people say, I read the Quran, I don't need Sunnah, you know, the prophetic tradition, because I just follow Allah. Prophetic tradition is narrated, I don't know, and also he's a man. I'm not going to follow a man like me. In the description of the Quran, how it is presented,
Follow the prophet.
the opponents, the enemy, you know, ultimate enemy of the prophet said the same thing in the description of the Quran. This is a man. Yeah, that's a very famous verse in the Quran. Let me remember. Oh, come on! In the very famous verse in chapter Yasin. Oh, it doesn't count. It is worth to say that what the opponents of the prophet said. Nowadays, the Muslims are saying, so-called the followers of the Quran. Oh, come on. All the verses come to my mind, and that verse doesn't come. So, قالوا إنا بثالث فقالوا إنا لكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا. They said, you ما أنتم إلا بشر ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا. Come on. قالوا ما yeah, three of them. This was plural. I said it was singular. No.
Somebody put in.
قالوا yeah. Find out. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا. You are a man like us. How can we see that you are employed by God and elected or given the duty? So here it is. Yasin, yeah. Read it out. The translation, so they may say that we are just making it up. قالوا ربنا. Oh, this is the answer. So this is what the answer the third one said. No, this is the answer. قالوا ربنا
يعلم إنا إليكم
لمرسلون. This is the answer. The verse before this.
14 maybe.
Okay.
No, the verse before this, just before this. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا. That is very important.
What was it?
Number 14.
Let me see.
14.
وجاء من yeah. Continue one more. No, up. No, up.
Verse 15.
No, go back.
Verse 15,
Yeah.
somebody said.
Just a minute. Just a minute.
This one.
This one. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون.
You're only human
Now,
like us.
the first part is very important. They said, you are nothing but like us. So you are telling a lie. So, of course, nowadays the Muslims, they don't really take the prophetic mission seriously. And they don't really say that we are not going to follow the prophet, we are following God only. They are saying the same thing as the first part of this verse is saying. They are a human being, following human being like us. So they don't understand the prophetic example as the best example, supported by God, educated by God. They don't understand that. So that they say, I'm not going to follow women, I'm going to follow God. That is a very deistic understanding of the word, becoming very widespread among the Muslims as well. It is very hurting, extremely hurting.
That's when the Quran is stated, Wati'ullah wati'ur Rasul. There's also some ayah.
Yeah. So where we follow the prophetic example, the Sunnah, that is the tradition, prophetic tradition way of life, we are not obeying the prophet. We are following the exemplary obedience of the prophet in order to obey God. Otherwise, in this world, how can you obey God? Come on. How can you obey God? Only follow the order of the universe in your physical relationship with God. How about your worship, your understanding? It said, how about educating, training your spirit? Yeah. How about purity, piety? It means really form of worship. How can you worship God in this world apart from intellectual acknowledgement, intellectually acknowledging it? Oh, this verse, when I read this verse, I said, oh, it is really warning me. Never thought when you follow the prophetic exemplary life, and especially in your relationship with other people and your dealing with your personal affairs, etc. If you don't take the exemplary life of the prophet, at least as much as you must aim at it. Now, no one can perfectly do it because it's the peak of this exemplary life, but at least try with your intention, at least keep it in your mind. When you fail, say, Astaghfirullah, I'm sorry, I failed, but still in your mind, I should have followed the prophetic example. Keep it. At least this state of mind must be alive within your mind. So when I see in my life that prophetic example is not I'm not just going to follow a man, I have to follow God, that kind of understanding, I remember this verse. قَالُوا مَا أَنْتُمْ إِلَّا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُنَا. I said, am I really the enemy of the prophet? Although, how do you say, hiding behind the shield of the claim that I obey God, not a man.
How do you obey God? How would you obey God?
But you cannot obey God. You can say there's God, that's it. There must be a God. Okay, fine. Let's call it intellectual acknowledgement, recognition of the existence of the, or necessarily existence of God, God's being. But how about your practical life?
It's a very interesting point.
No. These are crucial points.
Yeah, it is. Like, what am I talking about otherwise?
Yeah.
What am I obeying?
I think it is important.
And
to
or the other
understand.
side too, like, oh, I'm following the prophet. Like, what? So where's God in the picture? I think it's dangerous in two ways. I can say, yeah, I'm following God without, taking into consideration the human being that brings the message. So like, how is that happening? How am I following God then? The second thing could be, oh, I'm following this, sage or pious man. But then where's God in the picture? Like, because whatever I do, it's in obedience to the creator of the universe. I'm just following the example to connect with the source of my existence.
Okay, people are leaving. The time is up.
Time is up, inshallah. So we'll continue, inshallah, next time.
Inshallah, yeah, we'll pick up
Yeah,
from
With the Josh al-Kabir.
inshallah, yeah,
From where?
with the Joshan al-Kabir.
Okay.
Inshallah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you all for joining in, coming in, and sticking around until now. Inshallah, we'll pick up from the third paragraph from the bottom next Sunday. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alimul hakim. Glory be unto you. We have no knowledge save except that which you've taught us. Indeed, you are all knowledgeable, all wise. Wa akhiru da'wahum alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati